Hey guys! So it is Friday afternoon and I thought that I would show you a couple of my favorite recipes for summer. I'm going to make a thing called Gazpacho, which is like a cold tomato soup, and also a chorizo rice dish, which is kind of like a little bit of a paella, but it's a lot easier to make. And these are just so easy and fun to make, plus they're super cheap to make too, especially over here in Spain when the vegetables cost like almost nothing to buy big quantities. So what you're going to need is 1 large cucumber, 1 large green Italian pepper, 1 large onion, 2 kilos of ripe tomatoes, 1 cup of olive oil, half a cup of white wine vinegar, and salt and pepper to taste. You are also going to need a big cooking pot kind of thing. I am using this one that is 11 liters big because you're going to actually be using a mini pimer, it's called here, which is like a blender, a hand blender to crush all of the vegetables together. You need also a sieve, a metal one where you can attach it onto the bowl here, so that you don't have any seeds and skin inside your gazpacho. And then also you need to have a glass bowl that's large enough so that the sieve goes into it as well, so that you can take away all of the seeds and skin, as I said before. So I'm going to start off by washing the tomatoes and cutting off the ends where the stems were, and then I'm going to cut them into cubes and put them into a big pot. Okay, so as you can see, I've cut up my tomatoes. I decided to actually leave them whole because they were quite ripe, and I think that the blender will be able to mush them up pretty quickly. If your tomatoes are a little bit less ripe, cut them up into smaller pieces so it's easier to grind them up. Okay, so hopefully you guys actually have these kinds of green peppers where you guys live. I think they're called Italian green peppers. They're slightly less strong as normal green peppers, and I quite like them a little bit better just because I'm not very fond of the dark green peppers too much. I think that these guys give like a little bit of a subtler pepper taste to everything. But if not, if you guys don't have them or you can't find them anywhere, you can use the normal green pepper. Maybe you want to use half of it instead of the entire thing, just so it's not as strong. And for your onions, just get any kind of normal cooking onion. If you want to, you can actually buy like the less or strong onions or a sweet onion. I wouldn't recommend using red onions just because they have more of a different taste to them. But I am actually not going to put this entire thing in. I'm just going to put in half or a quarter, depending on how you like, you know, the taste of onions. You can put in more, you can put in less. It's all up to you. For me, I like about half the onion just because it's a very strong taste. But just I recommend putting in like quarters at a time and then start mushing it up and then taste test it just to see if you like it or not, if it's strong enough or if it's too. Okay, so as you can see, I've cut off probably about 1/3 of the onion, just because I don't want to add too much in at the beginning. You can always add more. You can never take away when you're cooking. That's what I like. As I have put in now the onion and the green pepper, I'm thinking maybe I should put in another green pepper just to add some more flavor. I'm also just about to start cutting up my cucumber. What I recommend to everybody is that you remove the skin with the peeler, just because if you leave the skin on, it'll give more of a grainy, rough texture to the gazpacho. If you don't mind this, then don't worry about taking the skin off. I just prefer to. Into a cup. I said a cup earlier. I don't exactly know if this is one measurement of like an actual cup if you're measuring them out in a measuring cup. I kind of just go by, you know, a normal drinking glass. You can tell also with the texture if you put it into the mixture if it's missing a little bit of olive oil or if you have too much. I recommend this, and then also use the exact same glass that you used for the olive oil to put in the white vinegar, just so you know that the measurements are kind of compared to, in comparison to each other, pretty much equal. I am now putting in the olive oil, and I'm going to put in half a cup of the white vinegar. You can also, if you don't like the taste of vinegar, use less of a measurement, put in less before, taste test it, and then add vinegar afterwards. As I mentioned before, you can always add things to your recipes, but you can never take them away. Okay, so now for the fun part. I've hooked up my little hand mixer, and I am going to start mashing up all the vegetables together, and it's going to be some sort of like puree. At this point in time, I have added the oil and the vinegar. You can also add salt and even pepper if you want to. I don't normally add pepper, but you can add it if you'd like, to taste. So it's going to be like this big mush of a vegetable soup kind of thing. And then afterwards we're going to pass it through the sieve so that we take out all of the skin and the seeds and whatnot. Okay, so as you can see, it's kind of like this sloppy paste kind of thing. It looks pretty smooth on camera, but if you can see there are bits and pieces of tomato skin, probably some pepper seeds, things like that. So at this point in time, I'm just going to do a quick taste test. I have not added salt yet, so I know I need to add some. I'm thinking probably about a teaspoon, half a teaspoon, and then just adding some more in after I have mixed it up and taste tested it afterwards. I have yet to also decide if I want to add half an onion or a little bit more of an onion, because I only added a third in. So if you have done like the same recipe that I have, just stick a spoon in, taste test it, and see if you like it. Okay guys, so my taste was good. I just added, as I just said, the third of the onion, half a tablespoon of salt. I added a little bit more than a teaspoon just because it was missing some, and then a dash of vinegar. Now I'm putting the mixture in with a ladle into the sieve, which is in a glass bowl, and it's already starting to leak out. This is just going to capture all of the skin and the seeds, and afterwards we are going to take our hand blender and we are going to pass it through the sieve like this. And as you can see, the mixture is going down and it is coming out like this really creamy, soft, smooth soup. So I'm going to go ahead and do that just because I need two hands. But you guys can go ahead and do that as well. And after the bowl starts to get pretty full, I would suggest taking the sieve out and putting it into this big bowl and putting this mixture into a Tupperware container just to store it, because obviously there is a lot more mixture than will fit in this bowl. Okay, so I am finished. I have decided to put my gazpacho in these like 2-liter Tupperware containers. I actually have 2 of them. They're not quite full, but almost. And what you should do is put this directly into the fridge, because it is much better to drink or eat like cold instead of room temperature, and it is delish. Now I'm just going to start preparing things for my next recipe. I'm going to be making a rice dish with chorizo, and it's going to be super easy. It's like a one pot kind of thing where you just stick everything into one frying pan, and then that's it. You don't have to cook things separately. You don't have to do anything else. It's super easy, super cheap. I also wanted to talk to you about prices for all the materials. Here in Spain, I bought the 2 kilos of tomatoes for about €3, which would be about $4.50 in Canadian dollars. I bought the green peppers. They're about 30 cents each, I want to say. And then onions are super cheap here. You can buy like a whole bag of them for about €2. And then the cucumber is also really cheap. Everything is pretty much locally grown here, or from Spain So it's super cheap. Like, these prices are insane. I've never bought tomatoes in that quantity for that little amount of money. And now for the rice dish that I'm making, I'm just going to be using rice, another green pepper, red peppers, chorizo, onions, and zucchini. And everything is super cheap as well. Both of these dishes combined together probably cost less than 10 euros, 15 euros, around there. And you have quantities for such a long time. Like, this will last us like a week. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to get everything ready and I will see you guys in a few seconds. Okay guys, so I have cleaned up all my dishes from my gazpacho, and now I am just about to get ready and start making my rice dish. I am going to show you what ingredients you need. I just recently bought about, I don't even know, maybe 400 grams or more, probably more. It's like, I don't know, 2 big handfuls of chorizo. I'm not really sure. These are like the tiny little sausages that are connected together. You will need either chicken stock in a liquid form or chicken stock in the little packets to put in with your mixture. I picked out one zucchini, which is like it's not a green zucchini. I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's a white one. If you can't find the white ones, you can use the normal zucchinis. As well as this, I picked out the white green pepper. If you can't find these, you can use the normal green peppers. I have bought a jar of I don't even know what they're called, but red peppers that have been like sauteed. They're like grilled red peppers, but they are very juicy and stuff, just because I like these, the taste of these better rather than the normal red peppers. If you have cooked them to this point, these take obviously hours to get them to this texture and this taste, so I just buy them in a jar. I have 1 onion. Again, I'm going to also use this quarter or third of the onion that I use for my gazpacho as well in my recipe. You can either use 1 or none, it doesn't really matter. And rice. You will also need to have water to put into your mixture because you don't want things to burn. I'll explain a little bit more when I'm actually cooking and you'll see how the process goes. So I'm going to go and start cooking up my onion. I'm going to cut it into small cubes. If you have like a chopper, that's best. It works better. I am, for these purposes, just going to be slicing them up into small tiny little cubes. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'm also going to put in my chorizo into the wok, just because the chorizo actually takes a while to cook and you don't want to eat undercooked meat, especially because I think these guys are pork. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to show you everything when it's inside the wok. Okay, so this is my chorizo. I just wanted to show you for size comparison. I bought like the little tiny sausages, but what I'm actually doing is I'm taking scissors and I'm cutting them up into like little tiny pieces, just because since this is a rice dish, I thought it would be like really uncomfortable to eat this huge thing within the rice. It doesn't really matter what you guys decide to do, but I just feel like it would also be a little bit more pretty in terms of presentation if you cut them. Okay, so as you guys can see, it's starting to cook. What I did before was I added about 2 tablespoons of olive oil or cooking oil into the pan. And now I'm just going to start mixing it up. This initial part takes a while just because you have to make sure that the onions are cooked and the sausage is cooked, and then afterwards I'm going to put in the green pepper and the zucchini in about 10 minutes or so, just so that everything, you know, cooks properly. Okay, so it smells absolutely amazing. I don't know if on the camera you can see, but the chorizo is already starting to cook, so it's making the onion like an orangey color, and this is actually quite nice for your rice dish as well, because it gives the rice like a little bit of a color, like a tainted color, because you know, with paella normally the rice is a little bit orangey or yellowy. It just gives a nice presentation to it. So this, as well as the red pepper, will add that sort of red, orangey, yellowy tinge to the rice, and it'll also add like an oily texture to it, which is always really yummy because then the rice has so much more flavor. So I've set the temperature to the highest temperature that it can go. For me, it's like almost boiling. As you can see, everything's starting to cook nicely now. What I'm going to do is actually add some water into the pot because you don't want everything to burn. So it's actually just going to simmer there while it's also cooking. And this actually gives everything more moisture, which is good because then, as I said, it won't burn and your onions will actually start to become more liquidy and more like almost like a, I don't even know, like a paste almost. So they start to disintegrate. So that'll give your rice also more texture. Because if you keep cooking your onions, they will start to burn and be more fried, which we don't actually want. We want them to start to become more like a soup-ish. It's kind of weird to explain, but you'll understand once everything starts to come together. So what I've done is I'm starting to cut up my green pepper and I'm going to put it inside this mixture here. Okay guys, so this is starting to look really good. I just cut the zucchini up into cubes and I have put it into the mixture. It's kind of simmering at the moment right now because of the water, which is what you want. So just keep stirring it. This is gonna probably simmer for the next 10-15 minutes. As I said, just keep on adding water into it so that it doesn't start to burn. You want it to be more of like a soup rather than like a stir fry kind of thing. It's been about 10 minutes now, and I don't know if there's so much steam coming off. I don't know if you can see, but it is starting to look really good because the zucchini now, obviously they're not big white chunks. They have cooked and it's more of a paste, and you can tell that everything's starting to cook nicely because when you lift up with the spatula, it's all kind of simmering down at the bottom and bubbling. I am now going to throw in the red pepper because they didn't actually need to be cooked since I bought them pre-cooked in the jar. And I'm going to throw in some more water as well and add the rice. So I'm going to do that right now. It's starting to bubble and starting to fry on the bottom. And I'm going to add some more water right now, and then I'm going to put the rice in because everything is starting to be cooked. But you don't want to overcook everything before you put the rice in because actually you are cooking everything with the rice in it. So I'm just going to throw in maybe 2 cups of water. So just for purposes of showing you what I'm using, I actually don't own a measuring cup. I just kind of throw things into whatever. This is obviously a tall glass. It is about a little bit more than halfway full. I'm going to kind of just throw it in and see what happens. And the water to rice ratio, don't worry about it because throughout this process you're going to be adding more water. It kind of just cooks with your mixture. And I'm just going to put it literally on top. Let's see, I'm going to leave that much just because I think that this is a lot. And I'm going to mix it in. And right now it doesn't look like anything, but trust me, the rice expands and this will be a huge rice dish after it is done cooking. Now that we've gotten this far, I want to warn you that you guys need to always keep mixing the mixture because since the rice is now in there, it is soaking up all the water. So look at this, at the bottom, if you start lifting it up, it's starting to stick to the bottom. So always mix it and make sure that there's enough water in there. You can already start to see that the rice is taking over and becoming a large part of this dish. So make sure that you keep it well liquefied. And yeah, keep it moving because if not, you're going to start to burn your rice and that will ruin the entire dish. Wonky. Anyway, medium setting, so kind of just not simmering, but in the middle. And it is cooking now, and hopefully there isn't so much steam so you guys can actually see what I'm talking about now. The rice has grown and it is starting to look a really good color. And just let it sit. Just keep on moving it, but once it starts to actually be fully cooked, you will notice because the rice will expand even more. At this point in time, I added a little bit more water just because it looked like it was missing some water to cook. Just kind of eyeball it. Okay, so we are almost finished. I know this is taking a while, but it is really good and worth the wait. I just threw in a cube of chicken stock because I decided, and I also tasted it, that it was missing just a little bit of a salty, meaty taste. So I'm just going to let it cook Now it's simmering. It's almost finished. The rice is basically done. And as you can see, it's like this goopy mixture, which is what I was aiming for. And it is going to taste delicious. It is finally ready. About 45 minutes later, I've just tried a little bit and it is so good. It's really, really yummy. I'm just going to put a little bit in my little bowl here and we're gonna try it. It looks really, really good. The camera, I'm sorry, but for some reason it does not look as appetizing or the exact same color. Maybe here with this lighting you'll see. But it's like this really nice orange color. I'll try and take a picture afterwards and I'll put it in the video. But it looks really good and I'm really happy. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this recipe and this kind of like cooking show. So let me know if you guys like this video. This is something completely different that I've never done before. This is what you want to see, like little pocket. Oof, now my camera's fogged up. Ooh, little pockets for